This episode of This Week in MMO is brought to you by Audible. For a free 30-day trial and to get a free audiobook, just head on over to audible.com/gamebreaker.
Gamebreaker TV.
Hello, and welcome to This Week in MMO, episode 136 for March 15, 2013. You're watching Gamebreaker. I'm Gary again, and coming up on the show today, SimCity is totally an MMO, even if you can play it offline, sort of. Yeah, maybe. Elder Scrolls Combat, or is that Guild Wars 2 Combat? And ArenaNet don't like big patches. All that and more, plus, of course, viewer questions. But first, Jason Winter Informal.
Sort of formal this week.
Sort of formal.
It's a fairly formal day, I feel.
I actually showered today, so you know.
Oh, that's good. You had quite
Impressive.
you have quite a post on Gamebreaker today, by the way. Your article on Saints Row.
It was. I always wanted to use bitches and hoes in an article.
Yeah. Surprised you didn't go with a title Uncut, which I heard was the second choice.
Oh, well, you can't really tell if it's uncut.
It's
you know?
true. Use your imagination. Yeah.
I don't
Saints
want.
Row.
No.
We debated that for how long?
What was the debate we had the other day? I think I tweeted about it. I was like, there's something else, something similar to that we talked about in the meeting for like 10 minutes. But anyway.
So probably Scarlet Blade. I don't know. No, Epeen. We debated Epeen.
EP, yeah. What's the proper form? What's proper AP formatting for Epeen? Yeah, that was the question.
Yeah. Now today it was that.
It's a
image
good question.
Yeah, it was. It was really tough. So I don't know if you guys know what we're talking about. Go over to gamebreaker.tv, look at the front page, and there is a Saints Row article there by our very own Jason Winter. And I don't know. You might want to make sure your mom's not around. Just saying. Just make sure you're.
Or your boss.
Or your boss.
Still kind of the word
your mom
there.
or your boss. Joining us this week from the Guildcast, Elizabeth Clare, Masterly.com. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Great to have you on the show. It's kind
Good
of
to be
weird
here.
talk about something other than Guild Wars.
I know. We'll see how that goes.
It is. All right, so we're going to start talking about SimCity. We talked a bit about last week. We're going to do it again. F you haters. It's an MMO. according to EA, they basically built an MMO. So the bad PR keeps kind of coming, and it continues this week. It's been all over the /r games, and the big one. I think the big news this week that everybody latched onto, we covered right here on Gamebreaker, is that a modder actually found a way to force SimCity offline, basically, where he was able to play it. There are major restrictions, obviously, like only being able to play with one city, but I don't know. I mean, since this has come out, EA has said like there's no way that they're going to make this thing offline. Like this is not happening from the ground up. They've built the game with multiplayer in mind, always online. And as I quote Lucy Bradshaw, she says, "The game we launched is only the beginning for us. It's not final and will never be. In many ways, we built an MMO." And I said this right before the show to both you guys. Why didn't they just tack the word online to it? Why didn't they just call it SimCity Online?
Yeah, why weren't they a little more open about it?
Is MMO that just bad? Does it just have such a stigma through the rest of the gaming community that they're just like SimCity people would have hated on it if they called it an MMO or online?
Apparently they hated more on it when it actually was online as opposed to just being called online. So I don't know what they hope to achieve there. If we don't put it in the title, they won't know it's online.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you call it, it still functions the same way. So just like pretending that it's the same and pretending that it's not an online game isn't really helping them clearly. But I feel like they could have been more upfront from the beginning and not just saying, oh, well, you know, the server is really needed to play the game because of reasons, and just been like, well, it's all about the social experience and you need to be online for that. I feel like that would have garnered them a lot more goodwill.
Was there any bad? I'm watching the chat room and I'm wondering, was there a bad taste in people's mouths from The Sims Online? Because I mean, they called that one online. Everybody kind of knew what they were getting into there. Is there anything there they wanted to stay away from the name? I'm all for the fact that they want to make this thing online and kind of reinvent it and do something new with it. And
right.
now that the internet is kind of like, we've been playing MMOs forever, but I think it's a cool step that they want to go in this direction to do online. I just think it caught a lot of players off guard, and like I bought it and had no idea that was going to be a major component of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I like the concept, and I like the notion of working with other cities to have that stuff happen. But now we're seeing more so that even just the whole issue with the connectivity is that some aspects of it just don't work that well. And one of the big posts I saw was about how traffic is just messed up. Their engine for halfling traffic is just screws up your entire city, and by the time you get to whatever, like 150,000 citizens, you're gonna have nothing but perpetual gridlock all over the place. So
yeah, that is something else that's starting to rear its head now. I think a lot of players who've gotten more time, spending more time with it, are kind of playing a lot more maps and building a lot more simulations, and they're finding that some of the maps and things like that are small. I'm pretty sure that they're gonna, make more maps. They're gonna fix stuff like that. Again, if it's an MMO, they've got to keep adding to it, adjusting it, altering
for a very
it.
small DLC price.
Yeah.
I don't think
I think the problem is
okay with that.
Yeah.
The thing is, SimCity fans aren't, because they're not used to that.
Yeah. And they wasted a lot of the goodwill by having such an awful launch because of the server problems.
Mm-hmm.
So they had the potential to like surprise people with this, and people are like, oh, well, that's not what I expected, but it's actually kind of awesome, because people who are getting past the technical problems are enjoying the game. But you lose so much of players' goodwill when you have such a crappy launch that people see is due to the DRM kind of connection.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's making the DRM connection, obviously, but I mean, if they were making an MMO and they realized they're making an MMO, I'm still wondering like where they really lost track of how many people were going to log into this thing. I mean, this is one of the biggest launches of the year. People, they knew millions of people were going to play this game, and if they were creating servers and everything was going to be online, how they launched with like a handful of servers, no queuing system, like none of the things that MMO players are sort of used to in the modern age of MMO design. And we're all used to kind of rocky starts. Like we're okay with that. But even like I said, I keep bringing up the queuing system. How did they not have that in play? How did they not have? They had a 20-minute timer that counted down and then reset back to 20 to try and log you back. How did they not just have like, hey, you're 300 in the queue. It's going to take you an hour and a half to get in. At least people would have been like, all right, I'll go do this. And in an hour and a half, I'll come back and I'll hopefully be in.
As opposed to like checking back every 20 minutes.
I could almost bet that that's another sort of thing. They didn't want people to think, oh, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get in. They wanted to see that and think, oh, it's only going to be 20 minutes. And
well, that they confused a lot of people until it reset. A lot of people weren't sure what the countdown was going to do in 20 minutes. They figured like, oh, maybe I'll just get in. And then it just reset itself. And like, huh?
That's exactly what they're thinking, is that instead of seeing 60 minutes or whatever, you think it's going to be 20 minutes. And
I see the original appeal of that, but I feel like, again, it's going to make a lot of people more bitter than just telling them up front, like, you have a 2-hour wait, instead of you have a 20-minute wait, like, 15 times, sort of thing. Like, people are going to get more bitter about the one because they don't have an expectation of, oh, I can go play Xbox for 2 hours, I can go make a sandwich, I can do whatever. They're going to, like, keep waiting, and I feel like that's going to make people more embittered towards them, and I feel like it really has. Like, people are pissed.
The internet is pissed. And so are reviewers. Your viewers are riding on the hate train as well. I mean, we're watching like some sites have rules about not changing their review scores whatsoever, but others don't. And almost every day, it seems like another site is actually lowering their review score well below what started out as 8 or 9s is now just plummeting down.
Further invalidating the notion of first-day reviews, which are silly to begin with.
That's a big thing.
It is, but everybody fights for them. We all know that. I mean, as far as like late game, and I know Justin Lowe from the Star Wars: The Republic show, he's been playing a ton, and he's now sort of found a bunch of things that he is unhappy with later in the game. Like you were talking about some of the population issues people are having, traffic issues that just seem kind of broken. All in all, I think there's a lot to like here with the game if people can play. What's the status right now? I've kind of walked away from it for a few days just because the amount of rage that was happening every time I tried to log in was just too overwhelming. So, is server stability a little bit more worked out at this point? Are people able to play?
I haven't heard the raging on that seems to have died down a bit. I mean, I haven't, like I said, I don't play it, but the people I do watch stream say they're not really having much trouble with it. So I think that's at least a little better, but that's being replaced, as you say, with people realizing the end game issues.
Right. So people are able to log in now, but then they're able to see all the other things that weren't ready. And again, like, no game's perfect on launch, so you expect that, but there's no happy point yet. Like, you don't get to, like, either log in and have a great time, or yeah, it's just not working really super well for them so far.
Well, hopefully they get this worked out in the next few weeks, because I think there is a really good core game there. I really, you know,
sure.
I wish they could have just tacking the online to the name would have just been, I don't know, marketing must have not have wanted it, but I think a lot of people would have been a little bit more, would you guys have been more forgiving? Would you guys have been more forgiving, especially for launch issues like that? I know I would have. If I would have known it was online and I logged in and saw these sort of server issues, I would have been like, oh, I'm an MMO player. I'm kind of used to this.
Right, we're used to this. I feel like it would have better aligned people's expectations, which I feel is the biggest part of whether or not launch is successful. Like, you're allowed to have problems because everyone has problems at launch. But if people know to expect them, they're like, oh, it's an MMO. There are going to be queue times. It's going to suck for the first couple of days. Like, that would have really done them a lot of good. So I would have preferred to see some sort of hint in the title towards that.
And that's really the heart of it, is because SimCity was a single-player offline experience. You know, you didn't have a queue or a 20-minute timer or whatever for the last SimCity. You didn't have that. You didn't have all this other obviously not the connectivity issues and some of those stuff. So people aren't expecting that. They blame the online for it. If that wasn't there, a lot of this wouldn't happen. So that's the other issue.
I blame the Hero Engine. Oh, wait, it wasn't made on that. Sorry. All right, moving on. All right, we've got some info on Combat, Elder Scrolls Online. So ZeniMax, company developing Elder Scrolls Online, which I'll answer the question again. Yes, we will have an Elder Scrolls Online show here on Gamebreaker TV. I've answered it quite a lot. Did I tell you guys we have new forums? You guys know about new forums? Because I've answered this question.
I've heard.
Have you heard that Gamebreaker TV has a whole new set of forums, brand new, and I
heard something about that once. I think
it's forum.gamebreaker.tv. Forum.gamebreaker.tv. You all should go over there right now and sign up and get posting, because they're pretty damn awesome.
This is really why we didn't have Guildcast this week, because Gary was like spending all day on the forums getting nothing else done.
Yep,
that's what it was.
That's what that was.
That's pretty much what it was. All right, so we will have a Tesso show. ZeniMax posted up some stuff about combat this week. First up, they said, you don't target allies. Most of our heals are AoE, area of effects, or cone effects. To be effective, you might want to stay in the middle of your allies or for AoEs, or face them for cone effects. Healers will need to be aware of their environment, of course, and pay attention to the battle. What do you guys think of this approach? I like it a bit. I feel like this is a bit more. I am not a healer in MMOs. It's the one class that I just do not enjoy playing. But this may,
because it's benevolent. I can't see you playing a character helping.
I feel like it would be a great opportunity for him to troll people, just like, hold those heals till they're really necessary.
Well, now, even more so than ever, because now it's a cone effect. So I'll be like, Jason, come over here, and you can stand in the cone. I'll be like, oh, maybe over here. Oh, maybe over here. Or maybe over here. And I can just keep moving out of your range and troll the hell out of you. No, but seriously, maybe part of the issue why I never really took to healing was maybe the old approach of it, where I always felt that healing was a lot of staring at UI and meters, and not ever, you'd get into big groups, and it's just not my type of gameplay. But I felt when I did try to be a healer, I didn't feel like I was playing the game as much as the other players. Like, I don't know, I wanted to be up front, like swing a sword, or I actually usually play a range, so I usually do mage or like a ranger or something like that. But I always felt, from a healer's perspective, I always felt like I was just staring at numbers and meters and making sure like nobody would go down. I like this approach. What do you guys think? I mean, it's a bit more modern take on healing, where you're actually engaged and actually looking at position and your allies.
Yeah, it's as a supporty type character, I tend to really like this sort of thing. I've played games in the past where, some of the more potent skills were either touch skills, so you actually had to like run up to the tank if you really wanted to get that skill off, or half range skills or whatever. So you had to at least be kind of aware, and you weren't standing like 20 feet back going, I think someone's going down over there. Let me hit one. So I'm really a fan of this sort of thing, and kind of making healers debate, the worth of that skill versus their personal safety sort of thing, and making so you don't have like back row healer support. So I'm all about this sort of thing. I'm super stoked for it.
And we talk about this all the time. I mean, with Guild Wars 2. I mean, it does sound somewhat similar to the Guild Wars 2 thing, which seems to be working out really well. I mean, they really kind of brought it into more of the modern age of MMOs, did it not?
Yeah, it really has. It's kept people, especially the lack of ability to target an ally. Like, you have to actually see where they are, because previously as a monk, I could know exactly what everyone's health is, but have no idea what the battlefield looked like, because all I see are the bars and like whether or not someone's in range of me. So this will make monks have to work a lot harder as far as being aware of which allies they're healing.
That's something we're seeing a lot more in MMOs, is not just the healer being a guy who looks at his allies' health bars and finds the smallest one and adds green numbers to it. Because like Neverwinter's kind of the same thing. You have to kind of target the person you're trying to heal with your power. I play a lot of DC Universe Online. That doesn't even let you. You don't even choose who you're going to heal. You press your heal skill, and it heals the lowest health person in your group automatically. Or you have an AOE, local thing. So that's a lot. That is something that a lot of MMOs are doing. Is they're making healers more active.
Now, again, a question on not being. Are either of you guys like sort of is healer either of your classes? Like, is that something you generally go for?
Elizabeth has like 20 Guild Wars characters. Of course she does.
I know.
I do play about 20 characters in every game, so I like support.
So
I play engineer, and I play like with this healing gun, the elixir gun that pops off a little healing field. And the problem I always have is I toss it down, like everybody runs out of it. I like chase after people with no health, and I plop it down, and everybody runs out of it.
I think in most games, the tanks should only see healing fields as like fire fields so that they'll run into it. That's kind of my theory.
Oh, there you go. That's
like,
what we'll have to do.
Warrior types need to have that different visual effect so they're actually effective.
But that is a disadvantage of having like a targeted heal thing, because trying to actually get them to stand still. It's like I wish I could root my own allies.
Well,
here, throw the potion at you. There,
yeah.
Being concerned about that, are you guys concerned though that most of the heals are going to be AOE or cone?
That is what it sounds like. And if they make that really effective, it's great. But if it's a super movement-oriented game, that can always go really, really badly because of things we've talked about. Like, unless you're communicating, like, hold still, I'm dropping a heal on you. All of your heals might be falling on just kind of empty ground, or your DPS who are already totally set, or other things. So it can take a lot more coordination.
And it also, like, it's not even in, well, I mean, we've heard beta invites are going to be going out soon, so who knows? I mean, it could just be that the majority of the heals are AoEs and cones, but it doesn't mean that all of them are. So it's always, they can make it like sort of, right.
Well, they said there's no targeting your allies, so I mean, I guess what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
You could have maybe some sort of group buff, like maybe, hey, our group heal. Sure, so, it could actually do everyone in your group, but it's a smaller heal or something like that. So in case somebody's like way farther on the other side of the battlefield, you can just give them a few extra seconds to get the heck out of there and back over to you for an AoE or a cone. So something like that. Next up, he said, if you advance down the light armor progression line, you are likely to get bonuses to spells, magicka regeneration, and the like. Medium armor skill lines give you more bonuses to stamina activities such as dodge, sneak, etc. Heavy armor skill lines give bonuses to received healing, bracing, etc., etc. But didn't we just talk about a few episodes ago about light armor tanks? Doesn't seem like there's actually real benefit to doing that. We kind of made a big deal of that, I think, a couple episodes ago. We were talking about light armor tank because it was kind of like, wow, this is kind of interesting and maybe cool and different. And it now sounds like most people probably wouldn't really want to do something like that.
Yeah, it sounds like they're setting it up to where you can do pretty much anything with your character. Like, if you want to run that way, you can, but it's not going to be anywhere near the most effective thing. Like, they're going to say, well, you can if you really want to make a light armor tank or a heavy armor support character. Like, you can.
But if you're going to min-max and try and get the strongest character. Now, the thing that scares me about that, not to cut you off, Jason, is that, like, you're going to get into guilds and they're just going to be like, you can't be a light armor tank. Like, you have to be a heavy, and they're going to, like, sort of put all these prerequisites on, like, you're just going to have to go with the most effective class.
That's the thing. It's going to be tough for them to balance which way to go to make one of them more powerful. If one of them is more powerful than the other, you're going to feel like you have to do that. But what I was going to say is, in like Skyrim, for instance, you could have a light armor guy who has, he's going to have all the magical skills, whatever. Like one of the skills is like the alteration skill, which boosts your magic power, or your defense power. So you could probably, I haven't really tried it, but you could probably make a character like that who has lots of alteration, shield skill, shield spell, whatever, and make him a really viable tank character, because he really absorbs a lot of damage. So that sort of thing might be viable here. But again, like you say, if that becomes really viable, is that what all the tanks are? Are they all mages and robes and no guys in heavy armor? So it's trying to balance that out and make sure each playstyle is viable is going to be a big challenge.
I feel like that's one of the biggest things for MMOs right now, is making sure that if you have a lot of options, you're making them equally viable without making them pointless. Like, there's no point in having a lot of options if they're all effectively the same, because that takes away the power of choice. So I am really interested to see how they kind of walk that line between letting you do crazy stuff with your character and letting you still be effective with it without like having your mage just learn warrior type skills. Sort of thing.
I kind of agree with you. So like, I'm kind of on the side that I don't like this whole sort of methodology of making all classes and skills sort of have to kind of balance out to zero at some point where we're all, you know, on the same playing field. I like the fact they're going to give you this kind of, I guess, kind of like oddball stuff where your character can kind of like, you know, go into a light armor tank, and maybe you won't be the most effective, but maybe you like just that style of gameplay, and hopefully you're playing with a bunch of people that don't really care. I guess at the high end level of the game, of course, if you're high end in PvP, or if you're in a raiding guild that's super serious, you're probably going to be forced into those, I don't want to say cookie cutter builds, but whatever's the most effective min-max build you're going to want to do.
Right.
But I don't know. I tend to be the other person. Like, I tend to never like min-max. Like, I just want to play what I want to play. Like, I know Liz likes dressing up, so she's like, if the armor looks cool, I'm doing it. Screw you.
It's true.
I'm kind of the same way. No, I'm kind of the same way. I'm just like, I don't know. I like the choice, but I guess they're gonna. There's no way that they could balance the entire. I mean, what about the multiplayer environment though of balance? I mean, that's like a super important thing for a lot of people, and a lot of players like to be on the same playing field. Do you think that that's something that we should just get away from a little bit and just say, hey, it's okay if not all these classes are created equal and one's gonna kick your ass?
Well, the problem there then is that everyone makes that class. It's like that's all you see out on the PvP field, and you want there to be different viable choices. Now, theoretically, you make it that, say, warriors always beat thieves, thieves beat mages, and mages beat warriors, like that. So you at least have that kind of triangle sort of feel to it. But of course, you and your bunch of your friends are going to go on your warriors, get your asses handed to you by mages, and you're going to say, "Oh, mages are OP," or whatever. So, and that's how stuff goes poorly.
And I mean, they could also kind of build different perks into the different classes or the way you spec them, right? So it could be like, heavy armor, and then medium has like, dodging, and light is magical shields and pets or something like that. So they all kind of have their perks and strengths and weaknesses, but maybe somehow they kind of balance out pretty closely.
And what would be ideal then is if the game is built so like certain dungeons, it really helps if you have an evasion tank. Certain dungeons, it really helps if you have like a magic shield buff tank sort of thing. So it'd be really nice if they designed with the idea that people are going to want to play eccentric characters.
Next up, they talked a bit about dodging. Said everyone with enough stamina will be able to use it. It is linked to movement and is not an ability you slot on your bar through certain passive abilities, though certain passive abilities may augment it.
Dodge roll.
Hang on, Guild Wars 2 is calling.
They want their dodging back.
It's a good system, though, isn't it? I mean, seriously, like it's a good system. Dodging feels great in Guild Wars 2, and I don't know. After playing it, I would almost feel somewhat lost in a new MMO coming out in 2013, 2014 without it.
I'm lost in my old MMOs when I go like to play Lord of the Rings Online. I just want to double tap to avoid stuff, and I can't. It's just.
Guild Wars 2 certainly isn't the only game doing that, but it is something that's becoming more popular, and therefore becoming more of a, why don't you have this if you're a new MMO? Like, why would you not do this thing that players are enjoying and benefiting from?
And they've also talked in the past too that stamina bar isn't just for dodging. It also breaks CC. If you're CC, you can use some of your stamina to break out of it. So it has other purposes as well.
It's also stealth, isn't it?
And sprinting. Well, stealth, I don't know if it's sprinting, because sprinting is that's how it is in Skyrim. When you sprint, you lose stamina. So.
I've been doing the same thing that you've been doing, though, Jason. Double tapping like other games. We played EQ2 We played EQ2 last week for a while, for like 2 hours for game night with Game Breaker peeps, and I was doing the same thing. I'm like, double tap. Oh, it doesn't work in this game. Finally, they said if you become an expert with restoration staff, you can use the ability Grand Healing. If you equip your greatsword, you would not be able to use that ability. Your Templar healing spell, however, can be used regardless of what type of weapon you have equipped. Finally, you can equip a backup weapon and swap between the two in combat. So you can have one loadout with a restoration staff and healing abilities, and then swap mid-combat to a greatsword with damage abilities. Hang on, it's Guild Wars 2 again, Colin. I mean, it does. It sounds. I mean, let's be serious. It sounds identical to Guild Wars 2, but I in a very good way.
Yeah, I actually kind of hope they go a step farther than Guild Wars 2 has. Way back in their iteration process, you could actually choose traits depending on which weapon you had equipped. So you could like choose in Guild Wars 2 your hammer trait set and your dagger trait set and that sort of thing, so that when you switched, you were as effective as you wanted to be with either weapon set. So I really hope that if they're going down this route, TISO actually does something more like that and kind of takes it a step further, so you're not speccing for staff and then equipping a greatsword and using greatsword abilities because that's your backup. You're like speccing for both of them and swapping as you need to. So I'd like to see them take what they have because it's a great system and then go farther with it so you can do more.
They do have to kind of take it a little bit farther, don't they? They do have to. They have to at some point, especially with combat, like give us that nugget of not letting us go for the Guild Wars 2 joke.
Because the rest of they have 6 skills on their hotbar. 2 are for your weapon, 3 are your utility skills, 1 is your ultimate. It's like, that sounds familiar. Wherever.
Yeah. I mean, you've got your 2 weapon sets, each with different abilities. You swap between them on the fly. Another layer of like building your deck for basically your specific character. I think it's a great system. I like this approach. It sounds good. I do hope, like you said, I think I agree with you, Liz. I really hope they can take it to the next level and do something unique with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about some Guild Wars 2. Big patch versus little patch. ArenaNet says little patch. I've got a media consumption joke here for you, but I'll pass it. That's another show. So, speaking to Guild Wars 2 Guru, a trio of ArenaNet devs discussed their philosophy going forward and how they were going to be updating Guild Wars 2. So they basically said that instead of working on a bunch of features and putting them into one big patch and hyping it up and kind of getting everything behind it, they're just going to throw features at their players as soon as they're ready, which is they're just going to throw these little things. Hey, this is done. Boom. Let's just push it up and go. What do you guys think of this? What do you guys think? You're thumbs upping it, huh?
Yeah. I think that if they choose, and there's been a lot of debate on that, if they choose in the future to do expansions, that's a great way to do expansions. But until then, there's so much that still needs to be added, and there's so much they still want to add that I think this is going to benefit them in the long run to have those kind of frequently recurring content patches rather than big ones that come 2 or 3 times a year.
What do you think, Jason?
I just want to say I'm glad that those are the digits she decided to show this week. But I kind of give it like 1.5 thumbs. It's like I do like, you know, it's obviously good to get the stuff when it's ready and when it's easily and most easily and quickly available. But it does kind of take away just a little bit from the notion of here's a patch which has all this stuff and it's so wonderful, and it's like I guess it makes sense, but I mostly like it. But yeah.
For example, if ArenaNet had decided to save guesting for their next big patch, and say that was in like June or July, and they're like, well, we've got it worked out, but you know, we really wanted it for this big patch.
No, I agree.
So
I'm not like 3-4 months, but I'm saying they've done something every month, and I'm okay with, you know, that makes sense. Yeah, not delaying it 3-4 months, but like 2 or 3 weeks, I'm sort of like, yeah.
I see both sides of it. I think Jason's thinking of the fact that, like, almost from a marketing perspective, a lot of stuff could almost get lost and just kind of like swept by, and like cool stuff is just going to kind of like go by people. But that's why you should watch Guildcast and every Wednesday live at 6 PST, because we cover all this kind of stuff, and we won't let these things slip by. But yeah, except last week. But on the other hand, I mean, this sounds like it's super consumer friendly, right? I mean, it really sounds as if the ArenaNet team is really going like, hey, they're really, because I would have to think that I'm making this up. This is pure speculation, but I'm figuring that there had to be a meeting at some point with like a marketing team, and marketing probably were like, this is a terrible idea. We can't make headlines with this. We can't get the word out for something like this. And the ArenaNet team is sort of just like, yeah, but this is like for our players, and this is really, we're thinking about them now. We're not thinking about headlines. And for that, I have to say, like, it's really cool. Like, I can't see a downside to this other than the fact of like relaying the message to players of like when and what is coming out.
Yeah, it can be like a little underwhelming if you're looking at, oh, January's patch notes, they're adding these 3 things. And like sometimes it can not feel like as big of a deal as it might be. But then when you look back from now to everything that's been added since launch, and you're like, holy crap, there's been a lot. I mean, we've had fractals, we've had all sorts of changes updated, we've had new World versus World stuff, we've had PvP changes, we've had all these different features added in, like bit by little bit. And I think that's going to be good for the longevity of the game and to keep people logging in every month at that monthly update. Because instead of having people logging in, 2 to 3 times for big patches during the year, you get people logging in every time. And when you have more players, you probably have more microtransactions. So you're probably making more money getting people back for maybe only a week because it's a small content patch, but it's a week every month.
It's still,
and I feel like that's going to serve them better.
Mm-hmm. It's still another, even if it's not a big, huge, monumental, large patch headline, it's still a headline that they can promote and, get some publicity around. And it kind of makes, the MMO feel much more like a service. I don't know. Like you said, I think it also fits really nice with the whole free-to-play model or buy-to-pay, most people probably, I don't know. I don't even know if I should say most people aren't playing Guild Wars 2 every night. I don't know. I don't know at this point. I would think that most people probably are not playing every night, which is a great way to get people back into it. But if every time you log in, and you take a little time away and stuff like that, maybe there's something new and cool right there, and they can kind of like, tell you about it. Or you watch Guildcast because you're awesome.
Or you read Fantasy Chronicles.
But
Just saying.
I'm sure there's still we'll still see the big story content, at the end of every month being pushed out, as well as these smaller incremental like weekly things. So best of both. I don't know. Jason, you're still kind of 1.5. What's your downside?
Yeah, I mean, you have kind of convinced me a little bit more talking about it being as in a case of, hey, it makes more money. That's the ultimate goal of it. It gets more regular publicity. Because I mean, it probably is kind of tough for them to think up. Obviously, they don't do it this way, but to have to come up with like one big blog post a month to talk about the thing. It seems like we always have like 3 weeks where it's kind of not a whole lot, and then we get like a week and a half where they talk about the next big content patch. Like they just had the calling post a little while ago, and we're gonna hear about we still have like a big WW thing coming supposedly this month, right?
Yeah.
So we have to in the next, I guess, 10 days or so, we're gonna hear about that. So it does help to maybe space things out a little bit more and allow them to provide coverage at a more regular intervals.
All right, next up, Richard Garriott. He's been to space. He's made a lot of games. Why is he putting his new game on Kickstarter? What's the deal? You guys don't know, he's got a game up on Kickstarter. It's called Shroud of the Avatar. We talked about it last week on This Week in MMO, and he got some questions of, hey, why are you even putting this up there? Because I'm sure he could kind of go to almost any publisher out there and start with his company and get this thing out there. He said,
right.
He said there were some. What's up?
I said, right.
He could, yeah. So why go to Kickstarter, right? So here's the answer. He says, there were some games I made where our publisher forced us to ship before the product was finished, and those results were never good, even though they had plenty of potential. By going direct to the players, we can not only avoid becoming beholden to outside influences, but instead build a relationship directly with players for whom we are building the game. Tabula rasa. You guys remember that one? I don't know. I think everyone is riding the EA hate train right now. I don't know. Is this something that people are more and more aware of? Is that being widespread, that this sort of sentiment amongst the video game universe for developers and publishers, that they kind of get strong-armed a little bit into putting stuff out early and hurting the consumer?
And even beyond just putting stuff out, having certain design decisions is something I feel like a lot of game developers have been putting into their Kickstarter to be like, well, we want to be able to do what you guys want because, you know, they wouldn't be able to make a game that players liked otherwise. So this sort of, you know, we want to rely on our fans and have input from our fans and give you the opportunity to buy a voice in the game is something that has kind of been coming up a lot. And so I'm not surprised to see it here. And I think it is being fairly well received because people are so used to like hearing that, oh, this game had to ship this day, so screw these features. So I think that's working to their favor, yeah.
But the flip side of this, Liz, is like, you know, what if, you know, you're the developer, maybe you have a good track record, you know, and then you put out this game and then it absolutely sucks, and then you just go like, well, my fault. Blame the publisher. Just blame them. Just dump on them.
Yeah. So I'm hoping this means that they're kind of, you know, putting their reputation at stake and saying, like, we are going to make a good game or else no one's ever giving us money ever again, oops, sort of thing. Because, you know, if you're asking for, what, $1 million from players, you better make it kind of awesome, you know?
Jason, what do you think about this whole thing?
I think, first of all, $1 million is... how much of an MMO does $1 million buy you?
Not much.
There's that, first of all.
But there's also
obviously
Gary's
got some money of his own, I'm sure. But
well, a lot of these people are putting their, like, I don't know Gary's situation, but you know, we talked to Mark Jacobs with Camelot Unchained, and he's looking for $2 million on Kickstarter, putting $2 million of his own money into the project, and then there's nothing that stops any of these guys for looking to outside investors as well to kind of come in and put in some more money.
Well, but then that's where you get to that point, isn't that?
But it could be private money. It doesn't have to be a big publisher money.
Well, sure. But even a private, someone taking someone else's money means they own you to some extent, whether it's a big publisher, whether it's Bill Gates or whatever.
If you're going to get $2 million versus, you know, $10 million from one entity like a publisher, it probably gives you a lot more leeway to be like, hey, I need to develop this on my time. I need to launch this on my timetable. Like, and we're not going to do it. I don't know. I'm just making this up, but I mean,
yeah, I mean, you can certainly convince the investors a lot better when it's just a guy as opposed to a company.
And maybe $4 million is enough to make some of these games. So it seems like some of the games that they're making are kind of what we've been talking about a long time on TWIMMO, the genre kind of making slivers of MMOs. So we see with, you know, Camelot Unchained, it's like he's like very much just focused on Tri-Realm RVR combat. That's it. There's going to be no questing. It's going to be none of that stuff. It's going to be about getting in there and PvPing against 3 realms. That's all he's going to make. So again, he's maybe doing $4 million. He could probably make that for $4 million with some off-the-shelf. I don't know if they're building their own engine or not, but I imagine you could build that for $4 million these days.
Yeah, a limited kind of game but then you wonder if people are going to be like, well, why doesn't it have this too? So,
well, they're just going to be like, it ain't your game. He came right on here and said that. He just sort of said, like, people were looking for this. I'm not making that, and he's very, you know, very much open and just being like. Kind of like going into World of Tanks and being like, where are the NPCs and where are the quests?
Where's my single character walking around?
I think that could work. I think that could work in a PvP kind of game. The content is the other people. It's a lot harder, I think, in a PvE game if you're gonna have you want to have extensive open world and raids and all that stuff. I think is a lot.
Well, we haven't really seen that yet, right? Have we really seen an MMO try to go to Kickstarter? I'm sure there haven't, but have we seen a really big, full-on AAA robust MMO try to go to Kickstarter that's trying to do all that stuff? Not really.
I don't think so, no.
What do you guys think of Gary in general? Do you respect his reasoning behind like going on Kickstarter in the first place?
For sure. I mean, it's been such a money pot for so many games recently, and like so many games are getting so much funding that I can't blame anyone who's like, well, I want some of this cash cow. Like, why would you not? Really?
Well, I mean, it's such an interesting like concept, the whole Kickstarter thing, because it's sort of like Game Breaker, right? You know, if we suck, it's on us. You know, but we've got the freedom to do what we want. If like the shows are bad,
we're paid for by ArenaNet. Remember?
I thought we were bought by Blizz. Actually, I got an email about a Game Breaker article I didn't write saying I was bought out by Blizzard.
Oh yeah, because that's all true.
You write for Game Breaker?
Apparently.
Apparently.
I want paychecks starting now.
All right, so I'll tease now. Shaftnet just walked in the room. Shaftnet, here's your tease. Game Breaker may or may not be going to Kickstarter with something.
Ooh.
Throw the box at him.
Just think about it. I mean, now we're looking at it going like, hey, if game companies can break the shackles of publishers and kind of be able to make the games they want, well, maybe we should go to Kickstarter and try to make the television or internet shows that gamers want. And some of the ideas that we have for shows, like the first one we're going to try, might not get funding if we try to go to like a television network. They'd be like, what are you, crazy? Like, no, we're not doing that. But I know that there's like a gajillion people out there who are going to want to watch this show. So we're going to hit it on Kickstarter. So expect it coming soon.
For $10,000, I'll do a song and dance show.
There you go. I'll put that
$10,000
for a $10,000 donation on
Back
Kickstarter. Jason Winter is doing a song and dance show, nude.
Oh, now hang on. That's $20,000.
No, you're not going to get anyone.
Oh, zing!
Oh.
So mean. All right. Shockingly, so free to play games go free to play, and that means more players. So maybe not so shocking, but it pretty much always happens that the numbers like go up. But TERA. TERA's the lucky game, and it picked up 500,000 players, 500,000 players since going free to play. That is just over a month. That is huge. We kind of gave TERA a lot of stick, as the Mr. Hawks like to say, but mainly my biggest gripe at the beginning was like, this game screams free to play. Why isn't this game free to play like from the day it goes launched? So now it's free to play, and look, people are actually playing the game. I guess we don't really know if the 500,000 are playing or if they're just registrations, which I'm sure they're kind of fuzzy with those numbers, but still, regardless, it's still a lot of people.
Signed up. Yeah,
it's a lot of people.
I won't quit that quickly, but yeah.
Yep.
I mean, didn't they say it doubled? Didn't say it doubled, that it was 500,000 before, and they doubled it. Yeah, so.
Yep, they did. So good for them.
I mean, it's got to put them in a better place to double their numbers like that. And most of those people are at least logging in somewhat recently compared to what it was. I think it's pretty impressive. I think it's pretty impressive. So I don't know. Have you guys logged in since it's gone free to play?
Once or twice. I have this thing where I don't have a lot of time. And so if it's a game I wasn't willing to spend money on to begin with, even if it's free, I'm probably not going to dump a lot of time in it. But I would like to see it more because having seen the end game content, I want to get to that, but the whole getting there thing, as we'll talk about in a minute, is not super great.
What do you guys? So yeah, let's talk about this really quick. Actually, I'm going to talk about this TERA thing, but really quick, I want to tell you guys about Audible. So, if you guys have not checked out Audible.com, you guys got to go Audible.com/GameBreaker. What is it? It's audiobooks. You download the app, you put it on your smartphone, and if you use Audible.com/GameBreaker, you use that URL, you're going to get a free month. A free month of Audible, and you're going to get to pick a free audiobook, which I am going to pull out right now because I am getting ready for season 3 and in preparation.
Old Nan told them. The wildlings were cruel men, she said, slavers and slayers and thieves. They consorted with giants and ghouls, stole girl children in the dead of night and drank blood from polished horns.
I wish I had this voice. How awesome.
Seriously. I wish I had that
children.
Voice.
The man they found bound hand and foot.
He's great. I'm listening to Game of Thrones, Song of Fire, of Ice and Fire, Book 1. It's on Audible. All the Game of Thrones books are on here. I told you guys about the D&D books. Somebody else. Oh, what did somebody else hit me up with that's on here that I didn't know? Oh man, I forgot. I should have made a note of it. There's so much good geek like fantasy and sci-fi on Audible. It's crazy, but I am getting pumped for season 3 of Game of Thrones. It's on Audible right now. It's actually on sale. Whoops. Sorry. Playing. It's actually on sale right now as well. Book 1 is on sale right now. You can go check it out. Just go over to audible.com/gamebreaker. Make yourself an account, sign up, and pick yourself a free audiobook. And start listening today. Look, you got book 2, book 3, all of them. Book 4, 5, and then Opie and Anthony. Yep. So there you go.
I'd be impressed if book 6 were on there. Let me tell you.
Mitzi brought up in chat the Elder Scrolls Audible books. I think I did see the couple.
That's
of the
what it was. That's what some that I think might have been at the Elder Scrolls. Yes, Little Missy, thank you so much.
Good job, chat.
Yes, the Elder Scrolls books. Hang on. How many books can we? Yes, pimp. Look. How many books can we pimp? This is definitely my next. The Infernal City Elder Scrolls series number 1 and number 2. Well, go check it out. You sign up with that. You sign up with the URL, and you'll get a free month and a free book. You can pick one of those mostly for your free book. There's sometimes a few little restrictions on the free book that you pick, but I don't think that would be one of them. Like I think some of their audiobooks that are like insanely long, like 40, 50 hours, they might not be free, but I'm not sure.
So Game of Thrones.
Probably not. I think that one might be. Yeah, here's Shafnit. Shafnit's just walking in the studio, walking out. It's good, man. We're still in the middle of a show. All right, I'll call you later. Thank you. He's dropping off super secret footage for that super secret Kickstarter show.
Ooh.
All right, so where were we? What were we talking about?
TERA.
Butter?
That weird-ass promotion they're doing.
Okay, yeah, so TERA. Doubles their numbers, and this has some people kind of confused. Have you guys seen this? So power level for prizes. This is their new promotion. It's sign up and then power level your character and get in-game rewards. So level 30 to 39, you get 5 strongbox keys. 40 to 49, you get 5 strongbox keys, and you get some XP boosts and shades and all kinds of stuff. What do you guys think of this? This threw our producer for a loop. I'm not like I'll refrain. I'm not refraining. I'm kind of okay with this, but it threw our producer for like he was just like, this is the weirdest thing ever. Why would you like want to get people back in the game and then entice them to just blaze through all of your content as fast as possible? It's almost as if you don't want them to really like pay attention and play your game.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking? Is that what you're thinking?
Please get me through the leveling. Please. Oh God, kill me.
Yeah, it's a weird choice, especially as someone who typically my first playthrough I'm not at all like laser focused on end level. Like I want to see all the regions, I want to talk to all the NPCs, I want to read all the quest text.
No,
so for me, this is first of all impossible.
Have you played TERA? You don't want to. Yeah, do that.
Okay, so I was playing TERA and I logged in and I made this hooker who walked through a beach, and then my first quest was legit. Like once you got off the weird like prologue island.
Did you pick up blow before you made the hooker? So it's hookers and blow. No. Okay.
My first quest was to press essentially W to walk forward like 20 paces, and then I stopped and I logged out and I didn't come back for several months until it went free to play. So for me, this is not an awesome promotion because it's like, but that's part of the game that I play. Like I play the pre-cap part of the game. Why would you reward me for skipping it?
So you think this sends the wrong message to gamers? Pretty much almost the opposite of how MMO should be played. It's like, hey, get through this stuff as fast as you can, and we'll give you prizes for it to just rush through all the crap that we really don't want you to pay too much attention to.
If I remember, what they did was, the max level is 60, and they didn't have like PvP battlegrounds at the beginning of the game. They finally brought them in a couple months later, and it was like, hey, everyone, we got PvP battlegrounds. It's great. You can get into them starting at level 50. Great.
I remember when I played.
So much better.
When I played it, I gave it a lot of hate. A lot of the TERA players kind of, kept tweeting at me, going like, "You have to get to the end game. Like it's all about the end game. Like you got to get up there." And I'm just like, so I got to play through all these like terrible levels to like get to the good part of the game. Is that the same message that they're actually with this promotion kind of saying? It doesn't even say that our end game is awesome. It doesn't even say that. It just says like, hey, our early game is kind of lame.
Kind of blood,
get through it. Here, we'll give you some glasses, and hopefully you'll get to 60 fast. And then
it's almost like every
game there.
To some extent, every game has like rest XP or something, which has always kind of bugged me a little bit because it's like you shouldn't be giving me a bonus. It is in a way a bonus for getting through stuff quick or to help you get through stuff quicker. It's always been like, why not just make that part better instead of trying to make me go through it quicker?
I don't know. Very odd promotion. Very odd promotion. All right, let's do some viewer questions.
I never play games like at level. Like I'm always way out leveled for whatever area I'm in. So, oh Lord, everything just froze. Okay, we're back. So for me, it's really weird because like I don't care about XP gain beyond a certain point because I'm already like way out leveled for every zone I'm in. So this sort of thing bodes ill for my enjoyment.
Yeah, I mean it's just it is weird because the only time I've ever heard the only time you ever hear the term power leveling is like when you're hiring some like wonky website to power level like your character to like because you don't want to play it and you're like, I want a hot max level character and I'm playing some kid in some other country to just sit in a cafe and play this thing for 2 days.
Seriously.
A little icky. All right, let's do some viewer questions. If you guys have viewer questions, send them in to submit at GameBreaker.tv. Keep an eye on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/GameBreakerTV. And did I say we have new forums? We have new forums.
We have new forums. New MSG forums. So full of tasty flavor.
No artificial colors.
No artificial coloring. But yeah, if you have a question for the Guildcast crew, we love video questions. It's not Guildcast, it's This Week in MMO. But
I know I confused you.
You did. If you have a question for the This Week in MMO crew, especially video question, record yourself, post it up on the YouTube, and send us the link to submit at GameBreaker.tv, and we will play it on the show. We love the video questions. Hop to it. All right, first up this week, David Hollingsworth asks, he says, do you think that Eve crested 500,000 active subs and Dust 514 being done give CCP the momentum to make World of Darkness a priority?
Is Dust 514 done? Like finished, ready, launched?
It is. No, it is in beta. Open beta on PS3.
Is an MMO ever done? That'd be the other question.
I almost feel like they're going to have less time once Dust 514's out because they're going to have to work on like the integration of those two games and supporting them so that they both feel alive and relevant. But it's a nice fantasy. Like, it's a really nice thought to think that we'd get World of Darkness or start like hearing about it again. I mean, I know a couple months ago, like, they wrote a letter to a fan site saying, "Hey, we're still working on it. We swear to God, don't go away. Please just wait. Be patient with us, please." So I would love for that to be a more prominent thing because I'm a huge fan of World of Darkness, but I don't have my hopes up.
I think you are very smart in not getting your hopes up. Jason, what do you think?
Pretty much the same. We're probably still a ways from hearing anything really, mostly seeing anything substantial. They can say whatever they want, but in terms of like getting, in-game footage or anything like that, or even a glossy trailer, I think we are a long ways from that.
You'll get a fly-through out of FanFest. That's about what you're going to get. That's my guess. You're going to get a fly-through out of FanFest.
The Project Copernicus approach.
I think. I don't know. I love Eve. Dust 514 beta is just yeah, and
it's a thing.
It's a thing. Not much of a thing. And then World of Darkness. I think that's a thing that they're probably looking for hundreds of millions of dollars to keep that thing going, which is why you're hearing about the thing. And that's the only reason you're hearing about the thing. That's what I think. So next up, Bradley Weaver says, do you think traditional design MMOs are dying with a focus shifting to small group interactions within a persistent world or large-scale instance gameplay? What do you think, Liz?
I don't think any game type is really dying out. I feel like they're always going to have the fans who are hardcore for it. I feel like because we have things like Kickstarters, we're allowing people to develop more for niche or for new interests or for untried markets. And so you're going to see a lot of new things being tried, but I don't think that means that the old things are dying.
Jason, the dying?
Yeah, no, I don't think dying. I think though that it is almost like a new genre of pseudo MMO that's sort of small fixed server size kind of thing, like DayZ, for instance, where you do play online with people. It could be just a random bunch of people as opposed to calling up your friends and getting together in Diablo or something. But yeah, I think that's a new genre that we're going to see a lot more of those kind of games in the future.
I agree with both of you. Last up this week from Brett Hilson says, why don't more MMOs have a permadeath server? I'm sure there's a fan base for this. How hard can it be to implement? I would love to see this in SWTOR. Just flip the switch. Just flip the switch, Jason.
Actually, you know what? Any server can be a permadeath server. You want permadeath? No problem. Your character dies, delete him.
Yeah,
there you go.
This is actually something that we've seen. I've seen in almost every game I've followed the forums for, people like starting their own Iron Man or whatever they want to call it group, where they have their own kind of extreme rules, whether that's permadeath or you can only use things that actually drop from a mob or whatever. So there's certainly interest for it because people are always starting that sort of thing on their own. But I don't know that there's enough interest that you would want a whole server devoted to it. Because I have a feeling it'd be a pretty tiny server.
It's going deep into the RP territory right there.
It is.
That's an awesome idea. Just delete your character. Just get a group together. Just get a group together on SWOTOR and say, hey, this is what we do, and just organize the event. I guess you're going to have cheaters, but whatevs. Elizabeth Claire, follow her on the Twitter at Elizabeth Claire with an X, and of course go over to massively.com, read all her stuff over there, and she is on the Guildcast show right here on GameBreaker.tv every single Wednesday at 6 PST, so come on over and watch that as well. That is Elizabeth with an X Claire on the Twitter. Jason Winter.
Jason without an X.
Without
no
an X,
X's
Winter
in
Informal. Yes, no X's in Winter Informal. Follow him on the Twitter, Winter Informal. Don't forget to check out all his writing here on GameBreaker TV, although if you check out the Saints Row one, it might scare you.
Just look at the writing and not the picture.
Yes, don't look at the picture, just look at Jason's writing. You can follow me on GameBreaker TV. Twitter is GameBreaker. It's GameBreaker TV. I'm Gary Gannon, and we do the show live every single Friday at 3 PSTs. Come on over for the live show. It's always a good time, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Did I tell you you guys forms? Forum.GameBreaker.tv. Did you know? Did you know, Liz?
I did not know.
Shit, I gotta get the word.
I must have not looked at Twitter or GameBreaker itself, or
I'm apparently doing a terrible job at social media, so let me get back. I gotta finish the show, so I gotta get out and start tweeting.